My name is Matt. I am related to Angie. And I just want to welcome you all here to Bless and Release. It's so good to see everybody. Wow, we've got people here from all over the world. And so that's fantastic. I love it. Um, Angie and I have been working on towards this all year long. And I just want to tell you this idea. We're going to teach you a little bit about blessing and releasing. And this is something that Angie actually does all the time, not just in December before the new year. She does it all the time. I would say every week, maybe sometimes even every day. It becomes a practice because she's so focused on her goal. She doesn't want to have the old energy hanging around, and it seems to always hang around. So, we're going to teach you some things about that today. But the greatest thing is, we're going to give you the support to carry this on throughout the year. Because I'll tell you what's going to happen when this is done. You're going to go, oh my gosh, that was amazing, Angie. And then the rush of Christmas hits, and then New Year's. And then after the first of the year, you're back into the grind again. So we don't want to forget this moment. So we're going to support you through this next year. Fantastic. And because one thing you'll learn about Angie, if you don't know her already, she doesn't care about giving you a bunch of information. Although she's going to give you a bunch of information here during Bless and Release event, she only cares about your transformation because her life was dramatically transformed when she started studying the science of her own mind. And so that is what she wants for you. A couple of housekeeping things here. I'm going to drop the workbook into the chat here. You want to grab that, and after this event, print it off. I'll drop it in there in a few minutes. And I'm also going to drop the Facebook group link. So make sure you join our private Facebook group for Bless and Release because we put a lot of information in there. We're going to stay connected with that. And that's going to help you through this journey. The last thing before I bring Angie in here is, and Angie, I'm sorry, I'm going to burst your little bubble here, but we have a special event tomorrow that Angie's going to have you do for homework. And it's where you write out some energies that you don't want to carry with you and you burn that paper. And it's a powerful exercise that we get to do. I want to tell you right now, make sure you come back for tomorrow to work on that because I want you to take a picture or a little video of you actually doing that exercise. Because after tomorrow's event, I'm going to frantically work to compile all of those things together and create a montage and present it to you. And so it's a fantastic thing that we do each year. And I'll also drop that in the Facebook group. Every more reason to join that Facebook group. So I'm going to quit talking and bring Angie up because that's why you're here. So, Angie, come on. Thank you so much for doing what you do and
Thank
being here with us today.
Matt, I just want to tell you, I'm so proud of you for all that you've done and to make this event really good. Like we're doing some new things, whenever you do something new, it can sometimes, you haven't perfected it quite yet. And I'm just really proud of him for stepping out this time. I haven't been doing live events or events online for a while. And we sort of stopped and reevaluated. And so we're just getting back into the swing of it all. And I think about where I was last year, and I can see how far I have grown. Of course, I've been planning this. So, I'm taking a look back and I'm seeing all the wonderful things that have happened and all of the meaningful things that really shaped this year for me. So my goal is to inspire you to take a look back and evaluate not just the negative things, but also the wonderful things, to be able to inspire you to the point where you really want to have 2025 be totally different. And it may not, you may take some good things with you. But, I was thinking about some of the things that I've been really inspired about over the last little bit, and I really wanted to share them with you. I want to help with the mindset. It's not so much about the exercise. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I hear exercises, I'm like, check, 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 check. Does anyone else know you're doing the mechanical part of it and the whole lesson got lost, but you got the workbook filled and nothing magical happened. You're like, I listen, Angie, listen, Angie. I filled the workbook out. If you know, and it isn't about filling this workbook out, it's about the transformation. And there's some good things in this workbook. And we're going to fill out some things today. And trust me, if you don't have your workbook, it's okay because I made a slide. I kind of speak PowerPoint. I used to feel bad about that, but I don't. It helps me really solidify the energy that I want to talk about. Because you know what? When I get on here with all of you, can I just tell you, I'm so excited to see your faces. And I think, and memories start flooding in about each person. I'm like, ooh, I want to mention that. I want to mention that. And I want to mention that. And by the time I'm done, I'm like, I've been so distracted by all the energy, I forgot my intention. Does that ever happen to you where you go to an event or you do something and all of a sudden your attention is way off kilter? And you come home from an event, you spent all this time dressing up. You know, I think about parties that I go to and I spend more time worried about the dress and how I'm going to look and all this stuff that I don't think about the party. And then I go and I'm disappointed because I didn't check my intention before I went. So my goal to help us as we do this bless and release is to check our intention of why we want to look back and to, because my goal is to help us see that we are meant for expansion and fuller expression. Can I tell you one of the sentences that was said to me very early on that captivated me? Because I don't know about you, but are you somebody who's sort of a rule follower? Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Just tell me what to do. If you'll tell me what to do and you tell me I'm going to be successful at it, I'm going to do it. And I was one of those people that would do that. I would do it with intention. I would do it with, well, I wouldn't say intention to get it done right, to please that other person. And I would always be so disappointed in the end because there was no transformational thing within myself. I got all the information, but I didn't have the transformation. How many of you want to have transformation? Like really want to have transformation? I'm going to open that up for you to be able to discover or explore over these next 3 days. Now, can I just tell you about one thing that I've noticed about doing these events, these live events, is the first day people come on and the second day less people come on and the third day less people come on. And they always say, I really wanted to come on to all 3 days, but I had stuff to do. I'll watch the recording. Has anybody used that line before? And how many of you watch the recordings? Oh, come on. You guys. It's probably my point of who I am as a person. For me as a person, I tend to, I'm just going to switch this view a little bit. I tend to put my intention in there. Sorry, let me do this a different way. I tend to put my intention um, on what's being said, and I don't follow through with how I feel. And so I want to give space for us to put our attention on it and then to recognize how we feel. So I would make sure that you come to the next 3 days. Give yourself, could you just trust me? Could you just trust me to show up for yourself this time? Like really show up and be present. And, you know, I just, it's so easy to be distracted right now. There's a lot of interruptive energy that happens. Do you ever recognize, do you know this, that you are surrounded by radio waves all around you? Did you know that? If we could see radio waves, it would be crazy the amount of radio waves or the amount of energy waves that we see. If you think about it, like just in your room, I just want you to scour your room for a little bit here, the room that you're in. Do you know that there is energy with even the paint color that you chose for your room? There's windows, there's furniture, everything is vibrating, everything. And isn't it amazing that we can tune all that out to be able to focus here for a moment? But we do have this ability to focus. And one of the first statements that I heard that empowered me a lot is that you can create anything you want. In fact, and I got shivers down my spine, it is your God-given right to create. It's your God-given right. And when I heard that it was my God-given right, I don't know, just something shifted. And I went, what do you mean? Because I feel like I'm walking a thin line of shoulds and have tos, and there's no room to create. I'm doing what, for me, I'm just using my examples of trying to be a good girl at church, trying to be a good girl for my parents, trying to be a good girl for my husband, trying to be a good girl for my kids, trying to be a good girl for my friends. And it was such a fine line that I didn't know who I was. And so I really wanted to know this one life that I've been given. How can I help her get the most out of life? Because it is her God-given right. So I'm inviting you to be that guide for you. I can encourage you and I can inspire you, but I want to help you move into the front seat of this is your year to create what you want to create. I want to give you permission to do that for yourself. I often hear from people, I just want ease and flow in my life. I just want to have ease and flow. I just want it to be easy. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, have you ever had moments when you're doing something and it's like everything just works out and it's like you're moving effortlessly through it? It's like all of a sudden, all these things just come together magically and you're like, this is incredible. I wish life was always like this. What would happen if it was? I mean, ponder that for a moment. You know those moments where when you share with your friends and you're like, you know what? It was so exciting because it just seemed effortless. Everything showed up the way that I wanted it to. That feeling is a great feeling to have, that is your God-given right to have that feeling and experience that feeling every day, every hour, every moment. But you must create it. Whether you understand it or not, those moments you actually created. And it seemed so effortless. You were like, but I wasn't even working hard at it. Interesting, right? I wasn't even working hard at it. So life is really about an unfolding of understanding ourselves. It really, truly is. And whenever I think about what I want to do for next year, there's a couple of things that I do every time. One of them is I find a way to pick a word. I know people have heard that before, but that does really inspire me that I want to hold this one word about myself for the whole year. Do you know what your word is? Have you picked a word? Have you even thought about a word? I know it might seem silly, but is there a word that you want to hold all year long? You know, recently I've come across a couple of ideas and I picked my word. I was actually in a mastermind group and it came forward for me. And the word for me was leadership. I really learned something about myself over the last few years. And I'm kind of excited. I haven't done the exercise of going back and looking at my past year, but I can tell you, I know what I'm going to witness. I'm going to witness every time leadership showed up for me, I would avoid it. The reason that I know is because leadership has become something of I'm having a lot of reaction about it. I'm having a lot of things that are coming up and I'm noticing deep feelings about it and questioning of myself. And that I know when that starts showing up, that's actually my way of telling myself it's time. Do you ever look at things that are showing up that might seem suppressive or difficult? Did you ever think about those times are times that you want to get in ease and flow? I don't I don't really like to be in an idea where I'm suppressing. I don't really like that feeling or resistive. People will say, I don't want to be in a resistive state. And they'll say that, but do they know what being in a state of flow is like? And so there's one thing I've learned about the science of mind is that it comes from an effective awareness. People want to have ease and flow in their life, but they must have an effective awareness. And so when I thought about my idea of leadership, I knew that must be my goal for the next year. I want to lead in a new way. Do you know a goal is not to get? This was a huge thing for me. A goal is not to get, a goal is to help you grow. And it's in the growing that you get. But if you're not aware of where you need to grow, then you'll just keep letting all kinds of energy run your life. All kinds of an interruptive energy. In fact, the loudest thing that's out there will get your attention, and you'll never go within and ask yourself, what do I want? And my goal when you leave is I want you to be able to say, I know what I want for next year. So I read this really great, I've been reading this really great book, and I wanted just to kick off this time about understanding in order for us to get some order in our life, order is heaven's first law. If I want to live in this heavenly state, I got to be in an orderly state about it. And so I saw a practice in my life that I was doing. This is what's really inspired me, a practice that I was doing unintentionally, and I didn't realize what it was doing in my life. So I'm going to just pull up my screen. I wanted to do this before we started, but didn't get a chance to. So I'm going to do it this way. I wanted to be able to share with you. I loved this quote by Steve Jobs. And he says, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect your future. And I think that's why I always like this time of the year and choosing a word, because the reason that I'm here and there's something that I want to experience is because of the dots that happened last year. And I didn't know the dots led me to this point in time. You've got to come to a point of an effective awareness of self to be able to say, how would I love to spend 2025? What do I want to bring into the world for her, for Angie? See, I look at myself, I'm not trying to make a split personality here, but you want to be able to look at yourself and know I'm here to help her first and number one. I'm here to create personal creation for her. The only one that I can help is really her. The only person that you can really help is you. I will hear people many times say, I just want to help people. Whenever I ask them, what would you love to experience? What would you love to do? And their first thing that they'll say to me is, I want to help people. And I know right away when people are saying that, I want to help people, they really want to help themselves. I've learned that there's something that I've experienced and I want to help others with. And I know this is a point of growth for them. I just had a call earlier this morning and somebody said, I want to help in my community. I want to help with this. And she said, because this is something that I've experienced. And so I want to help them. It's a part of my upbringing. I want to help people with this. And so it is her point of growth. It's her point of growth. And it really excites me because she's going to become a leader in this point of growth. So let's go back to this thing. I was reading in this book that I was telling you about. The book is called Ask and It Is Given. Learn to Manifest Your Desires by Esther and Jerry Hicks. And we've been reading it in my Rise and Shine group. I have a, a reading group I've been doing for several years where I wake up at 6 in the morning and I read for half an hour. And so I had people who asked, what can I do? I want to become a part of that. So I opened it up. So it's called Rise and Shine. We'll talk about it later. But in this book, this is what we read. It caught my attention and it has transformed my thought over the last few months. And it says, there is no desire that anyone holds for any other reason than that they believe they will feel better in the achievement of it. Whether it is a material object, a physical state of being, a relationship, a condition or circumstance, at the heart of every desire is the desire to feel good. And so the standard of success in life is not the things or the money. The standard of success is absolutely the amount of joy you feel. That is a truth right there. It's a misunderstanding, I think, that's happening right now in the world because there's a lot of talk about manifestation. I want to manifest. And what people don't realize is you can manifest a bunch of stuff, but that doesn't mean that you will have joy. And I don't know about you, but I want joy. Listen, I've manifested a lot of stuff. I've been a big manifester. I've created an absolutely incredible life, I have to tell you. It's a life you dream about. I am not going to lie about that. But I started noticing something that I think I did naturally. And it didn't occur to me until I read this, because I can tell you manifesting has sort of changed for me a bit. And I started noticing it because the further you go, the further you see. Do you know what I mean? That's one of my favorite beautiful life tips is the further you go, the further you see. And the further that I've gone and explored manifestation, I've learned a really key element that I think is missing for a lot of people. And she answers it, or they answer it in this book, and it really struck me. So I just want to repeat the line. And so the standard of success in life is not the things or the money. The standard of success is the absolute amount of joy you feel. Now, the next paragraph was eye-opening. The basis of life is freedom, and the result of life is expansion. But the purpose of your life is joy. And that is why the main event has never been manifestation. I went, what? But I went back and I thought about the times that I had manifested, and I evaluated what was it in my manifestation that brought it about. And I can tell you the first thing that I wanted was freedom. That was the first thing. I want freedom to be able to express this or live this or have this or be this or do this. And I wanted that. That was the first thing I had to identify with myself was freedom. Do you know what freedom feels like for you? When you see something and you're like, oh, I'd love to be able to do that. I talk about this a lot, but not a lot, but I mention it. My background, I went to college for music. I was one of these really strange kids that played every instrument, woodwind and brass, by the time I was in ninth grade. I can't tell you why I did it. I just was obsessed about woodwind and brass and piano and voice. I grew up in the church, so I grew up singing a cappella. So these are things that I was programmed, to enjoy. And I went to college, and trust me, I had rehearsals for 5 hours every day for 5 years of my life. Can you imagine that? 5 hours a day for 5 years. You get pretty good at something. Do you know what I'm saying? You get pretty good at something. And people would say to me, whenever I performed or did something, people would say, oh, I wish I could sing like you. And I would turn to them and I'd say, no, you don't. And they would say, what do you mean? And I said, do you know what is required to be at this level? Like I would appreciate the compliment, and I wouldn't say it to everyone, but people who would say, I wish I could sing like you. How do I sing like you? And I'll say, you're not going to like what I'm going to tell you. In order to have this kind of freedom, I rehearse 5 hours a day. I've been singing since I was a child. I've been reading music and tuning my ear and everything. And it gave me this unbelievable freedom. Most of the time people see the freedom and they're like, I want that. But they're not willing to do what's required of that. And so they're in a state of resistance. Energy goes where attention goes, that's where energy flows. And one thing I began to understand is that you cannot manage time. Even though we're going to look back over this last year, it's not about managing time, it's about managing your activities. And some of the activities are not toward your freedom, they're toward your habit. And so I began to really notice some of the habits that I had. And you know what? I kind of lost my love for singing. I still sing. I have a beautiful piano. I have a baby grand. I always wanted a baby grand. I have it in my living room. It takes up a lot of space, but I love it. Matt and I are both have been playing over the last few days because, Christmas, you print off all the sheet music and you start playing and you start singing. But I will tell you, I have a different love. I outgrew that love. And I wanted to expand myself in another way. And I found that I really loved helping people get what they want because I got what I wanted. And I wanted to be able to share with other people, how do you get what you want? People say, how do you do that? How do you do that? I'm going to tell you this, and I hope you hear it very loud and clear. You are the how. There is no how coming. There is no mommy and daddy to rescue you. There is no coach. There is no nothing. Your spouse can't do it. Your friends can't do it. There is no one coming. You are the how. But here's the thing. You've been gifted with incredible powers. And I didn't know about these powers until I started studying them for myself. And this is where my life began to change because I had this unfulfilled desire in myself. And I will tell you, plain and simple, the basis of life is freedom. The result of life is expansion, but the purpose of life is joy. Sorry, my thing just skipped ahead a little bit. And that's why the main event has never been manifestation. It has always been the way you feel in the moment. The words, in other words, you intend to come into energy that creates worlds and to flow it toward your object of attention, not because the object of attention is important, but because the act of flowing energy is essential to life. We have been given this power to have the flow of life go to things. Each of us has been given that. Don't you want to learn to get a hold of that? And it all starts from understanding where you put your attention. And so I love this part where it says the basis of life is freedom. The result of life is expansion, but the purpose of life, of your life, is joy. The joy you feel. And that's why the main event has never been manifestation. It has always been the joy you feel. So I want to just give you some ideas of what can you do to find the joy you feel. How can you begin to see it? Sorry, my screen keeps jumping forward. I apologize for that. So in your workbook that you were given, I have a worksheet to sort of fill in some blanks because I really want to help you feel this for yourself. And so the first one is love is resonance. What does that mean? Love is resonance. When you find something that you like, there's a vibration to it, and your spirit says, I like that. Do you notice and articulate and find a way to express, I like that? Do you leave things with an impression of increase? Could that be a habit to find your joy? Is to notice what you're noticing. Now, how many of you notice things and go, well, of course I could have that if I had a lot of money. Of course I could do that if I didn't work. Of course I could do that if my husband made a lot of money. Do you ever find that you go into a state of resistance out of maybe an idea of, I already know I can't have this. I've already been told I can't have this. Or do you see it and go, wow, I wonder what that feels like for that person? Are you trying to solve in the gap of things, in the negative way you feel about it, or are you trying to get in harmony with it? Do you recognize resonance? That's one of the first things that I would say for myself that I started working on, is finding resonance. I needed to find order for myself. Order is heaven's first law. I love that quote. It's one of my favorites. Order is heaven's first law. So if I want to be in a heavenly state, I've got to get into an orderly state. And if you've been told a lot in your life, no, you can't have that, stop paying attention to that, this is the way we do it, no, it's not for you. I had a lot of those. The house that I live in is one of those things. I remember when I moved into this house, one of my friends said to me, what do you need a big house for that? You don't need a house for like that. Your kids are grown. What do you need a house like that for? Because I want it. And that's good enough for me. Not because it makes sense to everyone else. It's not meant to make sense to them. It's meant to make sense to me because I love it. Do you know, if you really want to help somebody, learn to help them identify what they would love. If you really want to help someone, understand resonance for yourself. What does resonance mean for me? And do you acknowledge it? Or do you immediately have a resistance to it? Well, I might as well tell myself I can't have it because I can't have it. Or do you immediately say, what would that be like? What would it be like if I could have that? The next one that I want to share with you is that this idea of personal creation. I really love this book from Happier Than God by Neil Donald Walsh. And if you ever have read that book, oh, it's such a good book. But in chapter 5 of that book, and this is what really inspires me, is he talks about personal creation. Now I've heard that term and, you know, but I want to tell you something that I really recognized this year, and a really dear friend, I don't know if she's on here or not, but a really dear friend pointed out something as I had her read this article. She said, I didn't really like this article. And I said, why? And she said, because I've always been somebody who's given to others. I'm a big, big giver. So I want to give you this order here. There's only two basic questions to ask in life when you're doing personal creation is, what can I give to others? And what can I give to myself? Now, if you're somebody who's wanting to create or manifest, you mean I got to give to others in order for me to get? And how many of you have been giving and giving and giving, and it hasn't come back around? You're just giving and giving and giving. I mean, I was a big giver, but I wasn't getting back what I wanted. And I realized personal creation is, you must know what it is that you want and help others to see what it is that you want. You must serve them to see the good in the world that you want to see. You must serve them to see what you want to see in the world. And when you serve other people, you begin to serve yourself. You see, the point that is missing for most of us is our personal creation, the identity of personal creation. You must know what it is that you want to create in the world and help others to be able to see that frequency, that vibration in the world. Does that make sense? And if you don't start with what it is that you want to see in the world, there's no way you'll be able to help someone else. You're getting caught in everyone else's personal creation. And you can get to the point where you aren't creating what you want because you've been so busy serving everyone else. Which the point is that if you reverse the two, if you go after what you want and only serve yourself without serving other people, there becomes a problem. In fact, I really love, I'm just going to pull it up. Here's the book cover if you've never seen it before, but I really love what he says in here about personal creation. And I'm just going to just read it really quickly. Um, it's actually in chapter 15. I said it was in chapter 5, but it's actually chapter 15. Sorry about that. He says, there's only two basic questions to ask in life. What can I give to another? And what can I give to myself? It's on page 104 if you ever want to look at it, 104. And he says, it's important to never reverse the order of the questions. It's okay to ask what you can give to yourself. In fact, it's very okay. Personal ambition, personal happiness, personal fulfillment, and personal spiritual development stokes the fire of desire, of yearning and achievement. They are the cornerstones of evolution. Do you know, when you're manifesting or when you're going after the life you want to lead, the going after the freedom, you must have ambition. You must have happiness, personal ambition, personal fulfillment. And you must personally develop that within yourself. It's very natural and not at all spiritually inappropriate to seek a particular outcome or to wish for a particular experience on a personal level, including the experience of wealth, fame, and power. These are among the gifts of life. You know what? I was always taught those are selfish. But these are the gifts of life. They are among the enjoyment of being human, and there is nothing wrong with them. And yet the process by which we seek to achieve them is important. Obviously, achieving these things at the expense of others is not spiritually involved. Not so obviously, achieving these things while ignoring others and the needs of others is the hardest way to get where you want to be going. It is the toughest path. It is the slowest, most difficult route. The energy of attraction always works fastest when two basic questions are asked in the original order. When the questions are kept in the order, the first question always answers the second. How can I help others? When I help others, I learn to help myself about this. Because when you're gathering energy to create what you want to create, you want to be able to have help in sustaining your idea. And so the more that you can have people see what it is that you want to do in the world, the better you are at being able to communicate and articulate and lead people through it, the more you're able to help them, because that's what you want to see in the world. When there are people that are resistant to what you want to do, let them go. It's all right. There was a period of time where, I love Matt. If you've ever met Matt, I mean, he is fabulous. I'm telling you, he is fantastic. But I can tell you, there were times he said, I'm not interested in that. One of my first things I manifested was to turn my annual income into a monthly income, to go from 5,000 a month to 50,000 a month. And he was like, I am not interested in that. That seems like a lot of hard work. But I had been working with a coach and he said, well, what would happen if it wasn't? And I went, well, I like that idea. How do we do that? And he said, you are the how. Well, that sounds crazy to me. I don't know how to do that. And he said, that's where you want to build the desire. And so Matt was my best teacher in helping him believe that I could do it. Does that make sense? You've got to persuade other people. And when other people tell you, I don't believe it, that's when you want to say, ooh, this is going to be good for me to create this for myself. It's up to you in your personal creation. So the life you want to live, it's not about just helping people randomly and hoping the universe brings it back to you, because I will tell you, you will be left wanting. I see it all the time. And people will not know. And he says, this is why he says, the aspect of personal creation is stated in, he said, sorry. Yeah. This aspect of personal creation is stated in another, perhaps more direct way. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I'm so sorry. I got this a little bit mixed up. But he goes on to say, this is why it looks like personal creation and spirituality don't come together, but actually they do come together. Spirituality is really going from an unseen part of who you are to a seen part. And every great leader and philosopher has been at a point where it's unseen to others and they help other people understand their way of thinking. And so in order for you to serve other people or help other people, you've got to have your idea of what would I love to experience. That's why a vision is so important to begin to work with in personal creation. It's the beginning to help others is first learn to help yourself. Small things make perfection, but perfection is no small thing. This was an interesting thing. I find people want to do really big things in a small way, but you want to learn to do small things in a big way. That's why identifying what would you love to see in the world, and then how will you help others to see that in the world as well. You see, being able to manifest what you want is a really complex thing. And so what we do when we are wanting to make something or create something is that understand that simplicity, we want to make it simple for other people. People are very good teachers to help you manifest what you want and to learn to do it in joy. If you don't enjoy helping other people understand what you want to do, you're going to find it very difficult. You do it by yourself, but you don't do it alone. This is what I've learned about energy. Energy is by attraction. So I want to build around myself this ability to have people be inspired about an idea that I might possess or I might have within me. This is what I'd love to experience. Now they can't do it for me, but I can begin to express myself with this idea in mind. And that's my own personal growth. As I begin to grow, I help other people grow as well, because I'm going through the steps for myself. And so in this next year, what is it that you want to have? What is it that you would like to simplify for yourself to be, to do, and to have? Maybe you want a better income. Maybe you want to have a different career. Maybe you want to have better relationships. I love one of the quotes by Neville Goddard, and he says, for somebody that's searching for love, they'll never find love. The loveless never find love. It's only the loving that find love. Isn't that a great quote? When somebody's looking for love, the loveless never find love. Only the loving find love. What frequency are you operating at? And when you find the joy of being loving, you'll attract love. When you find the joy in having money, you'll be wealthy. When you find the joy in your career or your project or whatever you're doing, when you find the joy in it, that's when you'll be sustaining it. That's why when people will say, well, tell me how to do it. And I'll say, listen, one thing I learned that I was naturally asking and I didn't realize it is whenever I saw successful people, I went to them and I say, tell me how you feel. You can ask a lot of the people that study with me that are my clients, and that's one of my very first questions I'll ask them when they've achieved something is I'll say, tell me how you feel. I don't want to know how you do it. I probably would never do it that way, but tell me how you feel while you were doing it. And man, I can get so excited about that. I love talking to successful people. I love how they feel about their success. Do you know what happens to most of us when we see people successful? We stay away from them. It's like they have the plague. We start competing with them. Well, I can do it better than you. But we don't know what caused them to really do it. Because really, we're a vibrational match for the thing that we desire out of joy. You'll find you can be a vibrational match in a resisted way. Yeah, I got to go to my job to make money. Does that sound like somebody who loves what they do? And are you aware of how you speak to the universe? Are you aware not only how you speak, but how you feel? Do you feel like everything's hard and you're walking through jello? Or are things easy? I can't answer those questions for you, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at the times last year that you walked through life really easy and then the jello times. Or the times where there was interruptive energy. Interruptive energy can look like all kinds of things. There's lots of things that can derail us to where we want to go. Sometimes our health, sometimes other people's health that we're involved with. Sometimes our job, sometimes the company wanting to be profitable will let people go and it changes the dynamic. I mean, there's lots of things. There's so much opportunity right now. I mean, I'm shocked at how much opportunity there is. But I can talk to people and they're worried about going forward and this is shutting down and this is shutting down. And I'm thinking, wow, it's giving so much room for creation. What would you love to create? What would happen if you could change your mindset? Let's keep going. I'm hoping, is this helping to have these little quotes and you can go back and think tonight? Yeah. So simplicity is a very complex process. The complexity is that you're noticing things about yourself that you may not enjoy or you may not like. And you want to be able to find a way to enjoy them. So you've got to get aware of what you're aware of and how you feel about it. You've got to start becoming in ease and flow of what you want, but we're not aware of how we feel. We're just doing it, hoping somehow, some way, some cause and effect will show up. What would happen if you could create it? I can just tell you this. How many of you have a goal for next year and you feel really good about it? You love it, actually. Well, I can tell you this, you never trip on the mountaintop. You never trip on the mountaintop. You only trip on the sticks and stones on the way up. It's the small things that you trip on. It's not the big things. The goal is always beautiful. The vision is always beautiful. The vision is never wrong. I will hear people when they trip over a stick and stones, they'll say, I'm not climbing to the top of that mountain. It's a waste of time. I just tripped on something. And it's like, yeah, you got to be aware of the sticks and stones on the way up. I love this quote because this was from my father-in-law. This was one of his quotes, and it really helped me. It really helped solidify some things for me. Everybody wants a mountaintop experience, but in order to get to the mountaintops, you got to go up the path. And the path is never going to get you off track. It's always the small things that are in the path that will get you off. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, you must build a new model that makes makes the existing model obsolete. I have really lived by a lot of amazing quotes where I've implemented them, where I feel them. I just don't read them. But if you notice, I live them. It's not about me just knowing them. I can have the knowledge of them. And I see a lot of people who have the knowledge of them, but they don't know them. There's a difference between the knowledge of knowing and the knowingness of it. And that's where the real living is. The real living is in the knowingness of it. And so the best way that I know how to build a knowingness for myself is I ask myself 3 questions very regularly. And if I can teach you to ask these 3 questions this year, I believe if you use it with a knowing within yourself, you'll transform. But it is a spiritual practice. What do I mean by a spiritual practice? It's an unseen practice that you do till it becomes seen. The spiritual practice is in the belief. I meant to put this one in. I think I have it in tomorrow's, but I'm going to just say it now, is that seeing isn't believing. Trust me, we see a lots of things today and we don't believe them. Seeing isn't believing. Believing is seeing. Believing is seeing. And you'll know the difference as you begin to look at life, and you'll notice, wow, am I aware of how I'm feeling about this? I had somebody say, I'm going to skip that part. That popped into my head. Sometimes things that pop in your head are not always the best things. So I'm going to leave that one there. But I want to give you these 3 evaluating things that I do for myself. So the first one is the 3 questions you want to get really good at asking is, what did I do well? Whenever I'm creating something or doing something, I ask myself, what did I do well? Most people will ask themselves, well, I did that wrong. What did I do wrong? How did it go wrong? What did I do wrong? You always want to stay in a state of appreciation for yourself. In personal creation, to find the joy in your life, you want to ask yourself, what did I do well? No one's going to do that for you. But I will tell you, if you become partners with yourself and you encourage yourself, you will do magical things this next year. What did I do well? The second one is, what did I learn? When you have an awareness of something, awareness of self, not only the knowledge of it, but the awareness of how you feel about it, the feeling is the secret that guides you. So you want to be able to say, ooh, what did I do well? What did I learn? I learned something here. I had a failure and I learned something here. And then now, what am I willing to implement now? You want to get those questions just rolling off your tongue really easy. What did I do well? What did I learn? What am I willing to implement now that I am aware? You remember, ease and flow is about effective awareness, having an effective awareness. I wanted to talk a little bit about the homework, what we're going to do, what I want you to do to be ready to start the exercise tomorrow. I usually go through month by month and I usually talk about, current events and have you jog your memory. And I decided I wanted to go a little bit deeper than that. So your homework this time is, I would love for you to go home and I want you to take the instructions for this. So the objective is to remember your personal year, your last year, and to be ready for tomorrow's bless and release session. You may use pictures on your phone or calendar to help remind you of what you did. Mark significant moments in your month as a reminder of how your year was shaped. Here's some suggestions. Identify which months you had celebrations or anniversaries or weddings or births or graduations. And then fill in, where did you take any vacations? Just sort of do it by the month. You don't have to do it by day, just do it by the month. We went on a vacation here. Did anyone come to visit you? Did someone come to visit? Did you have any firsts or any finishes? Any promotions or job changes? And what I want you to do is I want you to put it in this little thing. And I even put, maybe will jog your memory, is what was going on in the winter. I like going back to my pictures and taking a look at it. I usually put all my birthdays in first, all my significant birthdays and anniversaries. And then I think about, what did we do on my anniversary or on our birthday? What did we do? And so I just jot a little note. And so I want to ask myself, what was going on in the winter time? What was I doing in January? What activities was I involved in? And you want to do it for what was going on in the winter. I marked it down by the quarters. And then what was going on in the spring. Oh, I love springtime. You know, when things start happening, when things start budding and they get all excited about it. And then what was happening in the summer? You know, summer sometimes is when you sort of let everything kind of go and you just let it do its thing. You know, kids are out of school and you just kind of let it do its thing. The garden, you just let the garden go. It sort of does its thing. You tend to it, but you let it have its growth. And then you come into the fall and you begin to harvest all the good that you've done. And you look at, you know, going back to school, getting back into routine, you know, you start harvesting all the good things that you do. You want to write those down. What you could put it for December, I went to Bless and Release. You could put that in there. I know it's just happening. You could put the future events of what's happening, like I'm having my family come to visit me. They're going to come early. They're going to come from the 19th to the 23rd, and then they're going to go home. So they're coming early. And so I'm actually starting Christmas time early this year. And I'm really looking forward to it. I get to see my nephew. He's graduating from college to be a lawyer. He's been going to school for I don't know how many years. It seems forever. And he's getting ready to graduate. So they're coming up and visiting. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to connecting with family. Put the things that your intention for December, if because we're still in it. I want you to do all of this because you know how, do you know what creates the flow of life is the cycles that we go through. And I really love that about Neil Donald Walsh, where he talks about cycles in life. And he talks about we go through a winter time. And a winter time is when, if you think about a seed dies. The seed dies and something is renewed within it. And then the spring, it starts blossoming. And the days get longer. Like we're December the 21st. My father-in-law, he had two favorite days of the year, December 21st and June 21st, because December 21st is when the days will now start getting longer. He would repeat this. He would go, the days are going to start getting longer now. Because I mean, it's like 4 o'clock here and it's getting dark. And I'm like, wow, 4 o'clock. Can you believe that? And then also June the 21st was his favorite day because it was the longest day of the year. And you know what? He passed away on June the 21st. Isn't that amazing? That's when he passed away, was the longest day, his favorite day of the year. And, you know, we celebrate that when June 21st comes along, Sam's favorite day. And he started his new journey. And so I wonder what June 21st looks like there, but I know he's enjoying it. So, but the things of seasons are how we keep eternity going for us. You know, even though we may be physically going into a winter time, physically, we're ready to head into winter, it feels like spring for me in my personal creation. And sometimes you can be in a personal creation and the seasons are very, very different. And it's all in an awareness of how you're going through life. And so I want you to go back and we're going to start learning how to, in this next year, how to create seasons for growth and expansion. But we've got to look at some of our habits that we've done and we've created. So this will really help for our session tomorrow, is if you have this filled out by the time you get here tomorrow. Does that make sense to everybody? Can we all promise we'll do it? We'll take a few minutes. Do you know what? I made these sessions for 2 hours. I don't know if you noticed that. I, whoa, we're celebrating already. Look at that. Um, I have them all down. I have them all. Look at, I know how to do the heart. I know how to do the, um, if I do this, I get balloons. And I think if I do this, I get streamers. You're going to have to cleft this out, Matt. I'm so sorry. And I can't remember. Oh, this is fireworks. Yeah. I think it's because I have a Mac. Matt may have to clip this out. I'm so sorry. I don't want to waste your time, but it's so much fun. Life is fun, right? You got to take moments for those joyful things that happen. Okay, so this will really help me tomorrow if you will get this done. I want you to be inspired when you come here. I want you to look back on your year and just really congratulate yourself for all the things that you did, all the fun things that happened. And you may have some hard times. You may have had a death. You may have had somebody that had some sickness. You may have had a setback in your life. Put those down too. You want to put down the good things as well. Make sense? So we want to fill that up as much as you can. And the more you put in there, the more it just makes it a lot more fun to be able to bless and release. So the first thing I want to do is just congratulate you for being on here today and for accepting this challenge. You don't have to, but what it tells me is people are ready for growth and expansion. And I love that. These were small little things that I did for myself every day that you put these days together and it transforms your life. And if you want to have a transformative life, it's really good to start elevating yourself and start taking care of you. This is a study of you. This is not a study of how to. You are the how. But if you're not aware of you, it makes it a little bit difficult. So we're going to do that. I want to leave you with this quote really quick. I love, I don't know if you guys know of a writer. His name is Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard. Yeah, I think I said that right. But I love this Soren Kierkegaard. He said, the highest and most beautiful things in life are not to be heard about, nor read about, nor seen about, but if one will, are to be lived. And I want to get more of this livingness in you to be able to create, to have the power to create what you want for next year. So if you did this right, you should have set aside an hour and 2 hours. So you got an hour for yourself. I'm giving you some time. Have it be sacred to yourself. Don't get up and start running around and doing all kinds of stuff. Take this time to really give to yourself while it's fresh on your mind. Stay in the flow of things. Does anyone have any questions before we go? I went a little bit faster than I thought I would, but hey, I thought I was going to have too much going on. All good? All right. I will release you guys and we'll see you tomorrow. Go be inspired about your year and take care, everyone. See you tomorrow.